everybody, how we doing? Welcome back to another MR Academy video. And once again, we're dealing with some math today, and a very important math video actually, because this topic that we're going to talk about today is going to come up in a number of future videos. Yeah, we're going to be talking about these three things quite a bit, especially when we're discussing data and statistics, graphs, that kind of stuff. And it's not just going to be in this kind of video where we're specifically talking just about these. They're going to come up in graph videos. They're going to come up in other data videos that we're going to do in the future. They're going to come up in some more complicated type stuff that we talk about in the future. So we're going to get into median, mode, and outliers. Those three separate things. Okay, so what are they? Number one, a median. Okay, the number right in the middle of a data set. Okay, so a data set is just a set of numbers, okay? A whole list of different data points or values, numbers, the numbers that you're working with. Okay? So for example, this is our data set down here. We have 9, 8, 9, 7, 6, 1, 10, and 7. Okay? That could be the number of people that buy lemonade at your lemonade stand every day. Okay? You measure it for 8 days, and first day, 9 people stop. 8 people stop the next day, 9 people stop the next day, 7 people, 6 people. You have a slow day and you only have 1 person that day. But then you have 10 the next day, 7 the next day. Okay, so something like that. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. That's a data set. It's just talking about whatever set of numbers that you are working with for that problem. Okay, the median is right in the middle of that data set. Okay. And we'll discuss how to figure that out in just a little bit here. So, mode is the number that shows up the most often. The word mode kind of sounds like most, and we have that in here. I've got that typed in, but I'm also going to write over here most, because that is an easy way. The mode is the most. Okay? They sound like similar words. That's what helps me remember what mode is. The mode is the most. Okay, the number with the most occurrences, the number that shows up the most in the data set. That's your mode. Okay, median kind of sounds like medium, which is kind of in the middle. Okay, that's what the median is. And an outlier is a number that doesn't really fit the rest of the data. Okay, if you're an outlier in a group, you're somebody that really doesn't fit in with what the rest of the group is doing. Okay, maybe you are really into Marvel comics, and you hang around with a whole bunch of people that like DC comics. Okay, that's just some really weird, I don't even know why I'm thinking about that. But you just don't really fit in with a whole bunch of DC comic lovers. Okay? Marvel is a completely different animal. You just kind of stand out a little bit. You're on the outside of the rest of that group. Okay? The same with the numbers. An outlier, okay, or multiple outliers, whatever the case may be, are numbers that just don't fit the rest of the numbers. Okay? Everything else might be clumped together, but there might be one little teeny tiny number on the outside that really doesn't fit in, or maybe there's a couple that, you know, might be really high or really low, or something that just doesn't really fit the rest of the numbers. It looks like it's kind of sitting on the outside. Okay? So that's an outlier. So we have these data points right here. Okay? And we've got 9, 8, 9, 7, 6, 1, 10, and 7. Now, just to make this one easier, I'm looking at these. I'm going to add one more number. Okay? I'm going to add in one more 7. Okay, I'm going to throw a 7 in there. So now we have an odd number. You'll see why I did that in just a little bit. But to figure out the median, okay, what you want to do, and an easy way for me to do this, it does take a little bit of effort, but again, there's nothing wrong with putting in a little bit of extra effort if it means getting the answer right on a problem. Okay? If you need to write a little bit extra, there's not a single thing wrong with that. Okay? If you can do stuff in your head, great. But it doesn't matter as long as you get the answer right. If you can do it in your head, or if you need to write things down, do it either way. Whatever works the best for you, that is the most important thing. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to put these numbers in order. Could be from largest to smallest or smallest to largest. I prefer smallest to largest, the least to greatest method, just because it's like counting up. Okay, that's an easy way for me to think about it. You can do it the other way, completely up to you. But I see a 1. Next biggest number looks like a 6. Get rid of the 6. Looks like we have 3 7s. Okay, so 7, 7, 7. We'll get rid of the 7s. I see an 8 next. That's the next smallest number. I see a couple 9s. 9 and 9. We'll cross those off, and then we have a 10. Okay. So those are our numbers. Okay. First thing, I'll cross off the 10 too, just to keep things the same all the way through. I'm going to look at the mode here. Okay. Is there a number in this set that shows up more often than any other number? Looks to me like, okay, now that we have them in order, there are 3 7s and 2 9s. Everything else just has 1 of each. But there are 3 7s. So that tells me, okay, the mode, the number that shows up the most often is 7. So that's good. That tells me right there we're in good shape. Outliers. Are there any numbers in here that really don't seem to fit? Well, we have a lot of numbers here from 6 to 10, but it kind of looks like this 1 down here doesn't really fit in very much. There's a 5 number gap from 1 to 6, and there's only a 4 number gap from here all the way up to the next to the biggest number right here. Yeah, there's only a difference of 4 between 6 and 10, but there's a whole bunch of numbers between 6 and 10 right here. So it kind of tells me, that 1 really doesn't seem to fit the rest of the numbers. Okay? So that tells me my outlier here is 1. Everything else seems to fit pretty well, though. Okay, everything else is pretty close together. Now, the reason I save median for last is because this is another thing that really helps me when it comes to figuring out the median, and I think it'll help you as well. Okay, it's worth trying. Once you've got your numbers in order, from smallest to largest, largest to smallest, either way, and we have odd numbers, or an odd number of numbers, I should say, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers, you'll see why an odd number is going to make a difference right here, and why I added that 9th number. Yeah, so we're looking for the number right in the middle of all this. So cross off the 1, cross off the 10. Cross off the 6, cross off the 9. Kind of see what I'm doing here? I'm taking 1 off of each end. And eventually we're going to get right to the middle of all of those numbers. Cross off a 7, cross off a 9, cross off a 7, cross off an 8. And we have a 7 right in the middle. Okay, so the number directly in the middle of all of the numbers that we are given is 7. And that is our median. The reason I added that 9th number is because when it's an odd number of numbers, there's going to be a number right in the middle, and we can just circle that. That's our median. If I left this up here, however, and if I just left it without that other 7, we would have had 1, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 9, and 10. We would only have 8 numbers, which means I would cross that one off, 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 cross that one off. Now I've got 2. There's nothing for me in the middle of the circle because we still have 2 numbers left. So my median would actually be the number right in between these two. Halfway between 7 and 8, it would be 7.5. Okay, so that would have changed it a little bit. And that would kind of make it a little less easy for this first problem. Okay, so that's why I added that last number. It also would have changed our mode, because then we would have had 2 7s and 2 9s, which we could have just added 9 in there. The 9 would have been a second mode. We would have had 7 and 9 as our mode, because they both had 2. But with that 9th number, making it an odd number, we have one right in the middle, and 7 is our median, and our mode 1 is our outlier. Okay, let's move it along. We've got a few different data sets to look at here. Okay, and you'll notice that part of these problems is listing them from least to greatest, because that is something that will help. Okay, you saw we did it up here. It's going to help you a lot to do it here as well. Okay, and do not feel bad about crossing off numbers. You're not going to hurt their feelings. You're not going to make them sad. The numbers are not going to lose sleep at night because you cross them off. There's nothing wrong with it. Whatever's going to help you solve the problem, do it. Do whatever you need to do. So number one, numbers right up here, we need to list them in order from least to greatest. Okay, so least, looking at all these numbers, looks like 0 is the smallest. Let's cross it off. We got a couple 3s. Cross them off. We have a 4 next. That's our next smallest number. Next smallest is 5. Cross that off. Next smallest is 6. And then we have a 10 left over. Okay, so we cross off our 10. Now, we've got our median, our mode, and our outlier to figure out. Once again, I'm going to save the median for last because I don't want to start crossing stuff off until I get the other ones figured out. Mode. Are there numbers that show up more often than anything else? Well, it looks like everything has 1 except for the 3s. So 3 shows up twice, everything else only shows up once. Okay? Tells me my mode is 3. Okay. Outliers. This one's a little bit harder to tell, but from 3 to 6, everything's pretty clumped together. But 0 is a little bit farther out than the others, and 10 is a little bit farther out than the others. So in this case, I would probably say we have 2 outliers. You could maybe just say 10, but I'm also going to say 0. And that's kind of up to you. Whatever you feel is outside of the rest of the numbers, whatever really doesn't fit right, what doesn't look right to you, that's completely up to you to say. To me, it looks like the 0 doesn't really fit the rest of this group, and the 10 doesn't really fit the rest of the group. 10 is farther away than anything else, but both of them really don't fit very well. And then the median. Okay, once again, we're just going to start on the outsides, beginning and end, and we're going to start crossing off. And we are going to end up with, right in the middle, 4 as our median. So those are the numbers we're looking for in that data set. Number 2. We're going to be doing the same thing, except this time we're dealing with much larger numbers. We've just been dealing with single digit and a couple 10s so far. Now we're looking at bigger numbers. So same thing, we're looking for least to greatest. We've only got 5 numbers to work with, but let's see what we have. Smallest number, 78. Cross that one off. Looks like we have a couple 83s. Cross both of them off. We have a 91. And we have a 96. Okay, perfect. Once again, I'm going to leave the median for the end because we're going to be crossing some stuff off. I don't want to cross things off until I get done with the other things that don't require crossing off. I want nice, clean-looking numbers to work with. So mode. Any numbers that show up more often than anything else? Yep, we got a pair of 83s. Everything else only shows up once. So my mode, 83. Outliers. It's kind of tough to tell with this one because everything really is spread out a lot. But in this case, looks like 78, 83, 83, they are all within 5 of each other. Then you take a giant leap up to 8 from 83 to 91, and 13 from 83 to 96. That looks like a lot. Personally, to me, that tells me these 90s right here, they kind of look like outliers. They don't really fit these other 3. And with a small set like this, it's kind of tough to tell what's an outlier and what fits in the group. But I would go 91 and 96 both. You could just go 96, that would be fine. But I think that 91 personally just feels like it's on the outside looking in. And median, once again, cross off, cross off, cross off, cross off, beginning and end, beginning and end. And right directly in the middle is 83. That is going to be our median as well. So mode and median of 83. Number 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. Once again, we're going to list from least to greatest. So smallest number we have is 34. Next smallest looks like 56. 2 of those. Cross them off. 88 is the next smallest. 92 is the next smallest. 96 is the next smallest. And 100 is the next smallest. All right. Once again, let's start with mode. Okay, we've got two 56s. Everything else there's only one of, so our mode looks like it will be 56 this time. Outliers. Now, once again, like we've talked about with the other ones, okay, this is up to you. This is kind of a judgment call. It looks to me, personally, 88, 92, 96, 100, they're all within 12 of each other. 34 looks very, very, very low. But there's a monster gap between 56 and 88. And really, that makes me feel like these three right down here don't really fit in with the other 4 points. You really don't want to have that many outliers, but in this case, those three really, really stick out. They tell me that, they don't fit the rest of this. So I'm going to say we have 34. We don't have a line big enough to fit them all, but we're going to go 34, 56. And we'll put the other 56 on there too, because it is a separate point. Okay, it's a separate piece of data. Now, let's find that median. Let's have some fun. Let's cross these off. Cross off one from the beginning, one from the end. One from the beginning, one from the end. One from the beginning, one from the end. And we are left with a median of 88. Now, you might be watching this video thinking, hey, we're missing something. Okay? We're missing one of the types of information we're looking for. The average or the mean, we're not worrying about that right now. Okay, the average, the mean, we'll do in a separate video later on. That is a little bit more complicated of a piece of data and a way to measure data. We're not going to worry about that in this video. Okay, that's why we're just talking median, mode, and outliers in this one. Okay. All right, let's practice some individual stuff here. Okay, mode. Now, I could take each one of these and put them all in numerical order. We can go from least to greatest like we've been doing. I'm not going to do each one of them. Okay, we're just going to do a couple of them in each one. Okay, we're going to go that whole set right up there. Let's go from smallest to largest. We do have a 3. We've got 1, 2 4s. Cross off the 4s. We got 1, 2, 3 5s. We have a 7. And we have a 9. Okay. Cross that one off as well. In this case, we are just looking for the mode. So we are just looking at which number shows up the most often. In all of these, we have 1, 3, 2 4s, but we have 3 5s. 5 shows up the most often, therefore our mode is 5. Let's do number 4 down here. We have 2 1s. Cross them off. We have 1, 2, 3 3s. 3, 3, 3. Cross them off. We have 4. We have 5, a 6, and a 7. And we'll cross them all off as well. Once again, just looking for the mode. Which one number shows up most often in that set of data? Well, we do have 3 3s. So that tells me, okay, we have a 3 right there. Okay. Once again, that's all mode is. Okay. Now this one right here, now mode, you could honestly look at all of that, and you could probably count how many of each number there are, tally that up, and you could figure out the mode that way. But this one, the median, you're going to have to put them in order. Okay. There's really no other way to easily do this kind of problem other than to list the numbers from least to greatest, or greatest to least, if that's the way you want to float your boat. Okay. These ones you do have to put in order first. Let's take a look at number 6 here. We got some space underneath. We have 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Now, this is a situation like we discussed earlier, why I had an odd number of numbers. This time we have an even number of numbers. So what we're going to do, just like usual, we're going to cross off the first one, last one, and then we have 2 right in the middle here. So what I need to figure out is between 4 and 5. Now, if both of these were 4, or if both of these were 5, we'd be fine. We just say, okay, it's 4 or it's 5, whichever one. If they're both the same number, it's just that. It's not the same number here. We have a 4, we have a 5. So what is directly in between the 4 and the 5? 4.5 is right between 4 and 5. So 4.5 would be our median. Okay, so it doesn't actually show up in the data, but if that happens, we have 2 numbers right in the middle. That's what we have to do. Okay, we have to cut that difference in half, and that's our number. Okay. Let's do the same thing with number 8 over here. We have 1, cross off both of them. We have 3, we have a 7, we have an 8, we have another 8, and we have a 9. 8, 8, 9. Okay. Once again, we're looking for median. So cross off first and last, first and last, first and last, and we have a winner, number 7, right in the middle. Makes me feel good to circle it. If you want to circle it too, go for it. It's kind of fun. All right. Now down here, again, outliers, we're talking kind of the same deal, where you're probably going to have to put it in order to really figure out. You could just look at the numbers, and you could say, hey, this number really doesn't fit, but it's going to make your life a lot easier. Yes, I know you have to write something out. You have to put in a little more effort, but if you get the answer right, it does not make any difference. There's nothing wrong with writing a little bit extra to make sure you get the answer right. So we're going to do the same thing with number 10 here, just like we have been doing with the median ones. We're going to list them all out first. Smallest is 3. Next smallest is 9, 10, 11, and 12. Looking at those numbers, is there one that doesn't really fit? Well, 9, 10, 11, 12, they're all kind of clumped together. But 3 really doesn't seem to fit the rest of that data. So 3 is our outlier. Doesn't really fit in with the rest of the group. And number 12, let's do the same thing. We have 1, we have 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they're all clumped together. They make a nice little pack right there. 1 is on the outside looking in. Okay. It is a long way down the road. It's just staring at this group, wishing it was part of the group, but it's just kind of hanging out by itself down there. Okay, so 1 is the outlier in that case. Now, number 11, we could look at these numbers up here without even listing them out. Okay, let's look at this. 16, 14, 13, 11, 10, 40. Is there a number there that really doesn't seem like it fits the rest of the numbers? Yeah, it's kind of that one. Yeah. There are cases where it is just completely blatantly obvious which number it's going to be, like that one, where you might not have to list it out. But if you're looking at them and they're all single-digit numbers, or they all look like they're in their teens, you probably want to list them out just to see. Okay, because there might be one that's just a little bit off, that just by a hair doesn't fit the rest of the group. Okay, it's not always going to be completely obvious, like 11 or 9. Okay, number 9, 3, 5, 7, 9, 4, 20. Okay, that one just completely comes out of nowhere. Okay, that one just slaps you in the face. So 20 would be the one for that one. And then our last problem right here. Yes, this video is going a little bit long, but like I said, This is an important one for videos we're going to do in the future and other topics that you're going to talk about in the future, whether in the videos you're watching of mine or in the classroom, okay, when you're talking about any kind of data stuff. Number 13 here. So we want the mean, or no, I knew I was going to say that. We do not want the mean. We want the mode and the median, and if there's any outliers, we'll pick those out as well. Okay, so we've got 5 days here. Pennies found on the sidewalk on day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's set these numbers of pennies up. Okay, we've got 1 penny. We have 7 pennies. We have 8. We have another 8. And we have a 12. Okay. Mode, which number shows up the most often? Well, there are 2 days where we found 8 pennies. So that's going to be our mode there. Any numbers that really don't fit the rest of the pack? Well, 1 definitely. And I would also say 12, because 12 is just a little bit too high. The 7, the 8, and the 8 are nice and clumped together. 12 is kind of on the outside. That's on the high side. The 1 is very much on the low side. We're going to say 1 and 12 for the outliers. And then median, cross off the first, cross off the last, cross off the first, cross off the last. You're left with 8 right in the middle. Now, a lot of the time, with the numbers we looked at today, the median and the mode were the same number or very, very close. It's not always going to be like that. Okay, so do keep that in mind. Sometimes it's going to happen. In these cases today, when we talked about them, that happened quite a bit. Not always going to be that case. Okay. So that is our introduction to median, mode, and outliers. Again, a very important video because this stuff is going to come back. Okay, it's not going to go away. Anytime you're talking statistics in the next couple of years, okay, especially if you are in about 4th grade when we first do start talking about this, this is going to come back this year. It'll come back in 5th grade. It'll come back in 6th grade. It'll come back in 7th grade. Whenever you're talking data statistics, these are important things to remember. Okay, so we are going to use these again in future videos when we're talking graphs, when we're talking other statistics stuff. Eventually we will work in the mean or the average of the numbers, but for now this is a good start. This is going to get you going in terms of median, mode, and outliers. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope this makes a little bit more sense after you watch this. If you found this helpful, feel free, hit that like button. Drop a comment. Let me know how I'm doing. If you have any other ideas, okay, or any other feedback you want to leave me, drop that in the comments. I want to know what you have to say. I'm always looking to improve myself. And if you want to be notified of any other videos, whenever I upload them, especially talking about this stuff more in the future, do hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and then you will be notified when I upload new stuff in the future. But that's all for now. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, your afternoon, your evening, whenever you happen to be watching this. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your whatever. And until next time, I hope everyone will take care.